There are certain places around the world where science and archaeology just cannot explain. And that is what we're going to be looking at today. This is ancient structures scientists think are from a parallel universe. Now, I don't know about parallel universe, but I know that they're unexplainable. This comes from the channel Most Amazing Top 10, and I'm not going to lie, I absolutely love this channel. So please go over and show it some love. If you do like the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
From the heaviest stone
Most
ever
amazing
quarried
top 10.
by humans
Let's
to a
go.
bizarre-looking castle made by a mysterious recluse said to have supernatural abilities. These are mysterious ancient structures that may be from
be AI in it,
a
surely?
parallel universe. The Baalbek stones in Lebanon are some of the most mysterious and massive stones you'll ever come across. Researchers still don't know how they were moved from where they were quarried to their final locations. There are 6 major stones here, and the biggest one,
the
known
pregnant
as
lady.
the Forgotten Stone, weighs about
That's called the pregnant lady or something, that
1,650
stone.
tons. To put that in perspective, that
the
is the
size of
heaviest
it,
stone
mate.
ever quarried by humans that we know of, anyway. The other stones aren't much smaller, with some weighing around 1,000 and 1,242 tons. The smaller 3 stones form part of an old Roman temple. They're still pretty massive though, weighing around 700.
During this, I want you to have in your head the term, make it make sense. Because none of this does.
150 to 800 tons each. One of the most famous stones here is the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. It's not the biggest, but it's in great condition and sits at an odd angle in the quarry. The legends around it are wild. Some say it's linked to jinn, others believe it has some connection to fertility, but nobody knows
people are just
for
drawn
sure.
on
The
it.
real question is, how did
Absolutely
people
zero
move these
respect.
massive stones with the tools they had at the time? Architects and engineers say we don't have any current technology that can lift and move these stones. They're way beyond what our modern construction methods can handle, and yet
I'm going to say this as well. I'm going to say this with chest. And that is because we can't do this now because we are nowhere near as advanced as some of these previous civilizations were. We think that we're so advanced because we've got this stupid, this stupid thing that just sits in our hand all day, every day. We are nothing to these people.
yet somehow there they are. What you're looking at here is not the set of an 80s fantasy movie. This is Coral Castle in Florida. It is, without a doubt, one of the most bizarre places in the country. And the story behind it is really strange too. It was built by a guy named Edward Leedskalnin, a Latvian immigrant who is known for being a bit of an eccentric recluse. He spent over 28 years building this place all by himself, carving massive stone walls, furniture, and sculptures out of oolite limestone. Some of these stones weigh up to 30 tons, yet he managed to move them and place them apparently without any help. Barely anyone ever saw him work, and he kept everything about the building process a secret. What makes Coral Castle even weirder is Leedskalnin's strange beliefs. He was obsessed with magnets and thought that they had healing powers. Some people even claim he used reverse magnetism or some sort of supernatural powers to move the stones. Others say he was just a huckster who used pulleys, but when you look at the scale of the work, it's hard to believe
if you lot
any
have
of
been
that
here,
could fully
drop some
explain
pictures,
how
please,
he
for
pulled this
me.
off. One of the
I
only
wanna
people
go
who
here.
saw him work said he saw Leedskalnin controlling the stones, making them float in the air. What's even crazier is that he actually moved the entire castle from Florida City to its current spot in Homestead in 1936, all by himself. In the end, nobody knows exactly how he built this place, and it does leave you wondering if there could be something more to it than we can expect.
Unless this is all hocus pocus, I think that he has to have found the previous technology that we had in order to move stones that are like up to 30 tons. Make it make sense.
Pumapunku, high in the Andes Mountains of Bolivia, is part of the Tiwanaku culture and dates back to somewhere around 536 to 600 CE. Some researchers even think it could be way older. What's wild about Pumapunku is the size of the stones. Some of them weigh as much as 131.
This cross, I mean, it is a cross, but yeah, this like pattern has been seen all over the world. It's not just here that this exists, which begs the question. This is like all over the world, but for over thousands of years of difference. Like these civilizations that existed in completely different times were using the same symbology. I think that's a word. Anyway, they were. Same as this, like the swastika, which unfortunately Nazi Germany ended up taking and completely fucking ruining, because it used to be a symbol for peace and for happiness and all that sort of stuff. And that's why it's found in so many ancient temples and stuff like that. And the same as this cross is found everywhere. Like the symbols meant a lot more to the ancients than they do to us now. Don't get me wrong, we still use crosses, we still use circles and all these other things, but they meant so much more thousands of years ago. Mad. One day we'll find out the mystery.
Tons, and these stones were somehow transported from over 50 miles away, which in itself seems impossible, especially since the site sits so high in the mountains. The area is above the tree line, so there were no trees around to roll the stones on logs like other ancient cultures did. So how exactly did they move all these massive blocks? The mystery doesn't even stop there. There are carvings on the stones that are so precise and detailed. It's hard to believe that they weren't etched in with advanced electric tools, but of course they weren't.
Bro,
it really makes you wonder.
I said this in the last video, right? We have got to stop looking at these ancient people like they are just primitive morons. They were so much more advanced than we are. And you always get those people out there, they're like, oh yeah, but they've done it now where they've carved something by hand. And actually, if you actually look at the facts, there was something they did recently where they was carving something, and after a little while, I'm pretty sure they gave up and used power tools to finish the project. Like, we can't replicate this stuff now. I don't care what anyone says. Mad.
I wonder if there was some kind of technology or techniques they could have been using that we just don't know about, though. Next are the Longyu Caves in China.
And that's not me saying we can't do that with our tools now. We obviously can. What I mean by that is there is no one now that could do something like this on this grand scale. Like these, I've seen this before as well. This is an entire cave, man-made.
24 human-made caverns carved into sandstone, and no one knows when or why they were built. These caves were mentioned in a 17th century poem, but there's nothing to confirm exactly when they were created. Some clay pots found inside were dated between 206 BCE and 23 CE, which gives us a rough time frame, but that's about it. What's even wilder is how they were discovered. In 1992, 4 farmers had been draining some ponds in their village, expecting to find nothing but mud. Instead, they uncovered
this was completely submerged.
After more digging, they found 19 other caves nearby. The caves could be over.
I know people aren't going to look at this the same way that I do, but I want someone to just look at this. I want you guys to just look at this and just think, people did this by hand, apparently. And if it's true, and they had different methods of doing things, and they had a completely different technology that allows them to do stuff like this by hand, then you got to look at this and just be like, wow. Wow, and why? You know what I mean? Because you don't just carve something for no reason. There has to be a reason. The same way that when you find carvings of spaceships in the sky, like abducting people, you don't just wake up one day and think, I'm going to draw that, or I'm going to carve that. You have experienced something, and then you have put it and expressed it via a carving, which is exactly what they used to do. Bro, like, I am obsessed with our ancient history. I just really want to know where we came from and why they made the decisions they made.
2,000 years old, but constructing them with the tools available at the time would have been an enormous feat, requiring around 1,000 skilled workers working 24/7 for years. And on top of all this, no one can figure out where all the rubble went. Over 1 million cubic meters of stone would have been removed, but there's no trace of it anywhere. Asuka, a village in Japan, is home to some incredibly mysterious and ancient monuments dating back to the Kofun period around 250 to 552 CE. The area houses about 20 stone structures, and no one really knows who built them or why. A perfect example is the Masuda no Enfune, or the rock ship of Masuda. The thing is massive. It's 36 feet long, 26 feet wide, and 16.5 feet tall, weighing in at about 800 tons. It sits on top of a hill, and when you look at it, it really doesn't fit in with anything else around it, while most of the other monuments in Asuka are more...
Do you know what's hilarious? There'll be someone out there, I don't know why, but there'll be someone out there that will say that that's a natural formation. It's not. It just isn't.
In line with Buddhist style, this one stands out as looking almost alien. It doesn't look like anything from ancient Japan, and no one knows for sure what the purpose of this strange stone structure really was. The Rudston monolith is
Isn't it funny, actually, how when people describe some of these massive megalith structures or megalithic structures, a lot of the describing words they use is alien or out of this world, and it's like, well, could it be? Like, I'm not under the impression that aliens done this. However, there is a like I said in a few videos before, there is a conversation to be had. Now we know that this stuff exists, and there are other life that are either here or come from somewhere to here. There is a conversation to be had that there was some influence or maybe some help in the building of these things. Some of the limestone from the pyramids of Egypt came from a quarry that is hundreds of miles away. Hundreds. Even Stonehenge. There's an altar stone in the middle of Stonehenge that is slightly buried now. That is, I believe, like 6 or something ton or 9 tons or something like that. That came 300 plus miles away. I think it's time that we start thinking about things with a logical brain. And I believe that history, to a certain extent, needs to be rewritten because of what we get taught at school. Looking back, it's quite laughable. It really is, because a lot of it's been completely, I use the word debunked. I don't really like that word too much, but a lot of what we know now completely contradicts what you get taught in school, but they still get taught it today. Let me know what you guys think.
Tallest standing stone in all of Britain, sitting at 25 feet high in the graveyard of a church in the village of Rudston. It's thought to have been erected around 1600 BCE, but its exact origins are still a mystery. Some believe the monolith could have been the reason the village got its name.
I didn't even know this.
The other way around.
I didn't even know this.
There's always been legends about the stone, though. One
I'll have to
tale
rewatch
goes
it.
that the devil himself threw it as a spear during an attack on the church, but his aim was off, and it ended up stuck in the graveyard. As for archaeology, a man named Sir William Strickland did some digging around the site in the 1700s and found that the monolith might actually be twice as tall as it appears, with half of it buried underground.
No way,
He also
bro.
dug up a bunch of skulls, meaning the site may have been used for human sacrifice, but despite all of this, no one really knows for sure why the monolith is there or what it was used for.
Why don't we dig?
Stones are a collection of carved volcanic rocks found in the Ica province of Peru. They range in size from small palm-sized pieces to huge boulders over a foot across. What's strange about them is the carvings, though. You have your typical ancient depictions of animals and
Tell me that isn't a dinosaur though, bro.
human figures and ceremonial headdresses, stuff like that, but then you have stones that seem to show scenes of an ancient civilization with incredibly advanced technology. They're images of what looks like medical procedures, heart and brain surgeries, C-sections, organ transplants. Then there are carvings that seem to show
They always have this pattern as hair or beards. And if you actually look, in fact, 1 second, they always look like this. And these were Sumerian depictions or carvings of a people called the Anunnaki. Why do they look so similar? And also, if you didn't notice, this was carved thousands of years ago. And look what he's got on his wrist. It's mental. Thousands of years ago. It looks like a watch, but I think it's actually like a sundial, I believe. But again, they were telling the time using something on their wrist. But there's someone that created the first watch. Unfortunately, you didn't. Unfortunately, you did not. And this stuff back here, this was one of the first written languages, I believe. It's called like cuneiform. Mental. Absolutely mental. Anyway, back to the video.
these ancient people had knowledge of astronomy, with people looking through telescopes, and images of flying machines and spaceships, and you also have a lot of dinosaurs, but people interacting with dinosaurs.
Right.
It's pretty cool. The big question is, how could a civilization that could have had advanced technology like this have existed so long ago, and why is there no evidence of these people? No ruins or artifacts other than these stones. Are these stones genuine artifacts from a lost society, or are they just just a clever hoax. In 1998, developers in South Beach, Miami made a...
If you guys are interested in this sort of stuff, I would love for you guys to look into the Anunnaki, and I'll put the name on the screen so you can just have a little read and see what you think. And then you can start, like I have, and like millions of other people have, you start sort of connecting the dots and connecting things when it's like, oh, actually, that does make sense if these people was to actually have existed rather than them being mythology, which a lot of people like to label them as. Everything starts to make sense when you start looking into this stuff. It's like, oh yeah, actually, that could have been that, and then that could have been this, and then it makes things, although it gives you a lot more questions and it makes you realize just how much you don't know, it is also, it's like a bit of relief as well, because it gives you some answers to questions that you didn't even know you had. Let's go.
Strange discovery while preparing to build new condos. As they dug into the ground, they found a circle of 24 large holes, each filled with heavy limestone tablets. They called in archaeologists to investigate, and what they uncovered was a perfectly formed stone circle about 38 feet in diameter. Along with the stones, they found animal bones, shark teeth, and old basalt axe heads. After studying the site, they estimated that the Miami Circle was about 2,000 years old, and that it was created by the Tequesta people, a nomadic tribe that lived in the area before European settlers arrived. What's strange is that there's no clear explanation for what the circle was used for, or even much solid info about the Tequesta themselves. The Golan structure is a mysterious site located in the Golan Heights.
This is what I love about history as well. You don't find this stuff until you're digging to build something else, and then all of a sudden just a complete new question arises of why, who, and when. I absolutely love it. I really do.
Heights, northern Israel. It's a large, ancient stone monument, but no one really knows what it was for. The site had these basalt stones arranged in a series of circular patterns, and it's believed to be about 3,000 years old. The main circle of stones is around 150 feet across, surrounded by smaller circles and enclosures. The precision in the arrangement of the stones has led some researchers to think it might have been used for rituals or even as an ancient observatory. But we have no definitive explanation, and there's no clear answer as to who built it either. Some think it might have been constructed by the ancient Canaanites, but there's still some
the same way we kind of are.
And finally, we have the Saqqara black boxes in Egypt. These coffin-shaped boxes, discovered near the pyramid of Djoser, are made from solid Aswan granite, which is ridiculously tough. Each one weighs over 100 tons, and even just the lids themselves are around 30 tons. Somehow, though, these things were perfectly cut and assembled. Even with modern technology, making something like these would be an incredible challenge. Yet they were crafted thousands of years ago, and no one really knows what the purpose of these boxes was. The black boxes are just one of the things on the very long list of mysterious constructions made by the ancient Egyptians that some people think may have been built with help from advanced beings.
Most amazing top 10. Mate, when I tell you that I love this channel, like I watch these videos all the time, whether it's me making a video or if I just watch it while I'm chilling. I honestly watch so much of this guy's content. I love the angle that he comes at it from, where he just keeps such an open mind and he doesn't just go, oh, this is what mainstream say. He goes, oh, here's a potential other theory, which I really like. So hats off to this guy. I'm not actually going to do it because I've probably got bedhead. However, if you did like this video, please like the video and tell a friend to tell a friend. We're slowly growing. I'm going to get to the point where we're big enough on YouTube that I can then travel all over, bring you guys with me, and we can go and see some of this stuff in person ourselves and make content that way. I think that would be unreal. Guys, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.